Brushing purple bangs from her gently waking green eyes, Rel sat down to a pad of lined paper and a ballpoint pen, purple ink. She made sure her doll, Lily, was resting on her lap and a pair of old worn-out aviator goggles were securely on her head before she began to doodle. Then, to write. Lily was a ragged stuffed doll stitched with blue string. She had button eyes that were already coming undone, pink yarn for hair, and a frilly blue dress that was fading on the edges. Rel had sewn Lily together 2 years ago when her parents had left her home alone for the weekend. She adjusted the goggles over her eyes and began to write.
The guardians are off addressing the king again. I'm locked in the prison tower of Humglum with only Lily to keep me company. The walls stink like sulfur and smoke, I think.
Through the eyes of her goggles, Rel noticed the world change. The walls of her room were just as she had imagined on paper. Large, twisted brick walls with a single tiny barred window. She smelt the moist, mildew-ridden floor, felt the cold, stiff breeze on her skin.
Whoa!
She lifted her goggles. There was only her room, with 4 white walls, a plain window, a bed to her left, a desk at her knees, and nothing but an overwhelming quiet. She drew her goggles back down and was once again in the bricked prison cell.
Neato!
She said, loudly.
These make my writing awesome!
Indeed, mistress,
Said a quiet, formal voice. Rel jumped, tripping toward the gated doorway.
Oh my good gosh!
Standing near her desk side was a young girl. She stood a bit taller than Rel. She had long, flowing pink locks and a brilliant cerulean dress with a skull pendant on her neck. Her sweet, innocent blue eyes stared back as she curtsied, bowed her head, and said,
Salutations. I live only to serve you, princess. Ask and I will obey.
Lily? You're big.
Rel's eyes darted back and forth.
You're talking to me?
Rel lifted her goggles and saw only the old stuffed doll. Lily did not speak until Rel placed the goggles down and revealed the sweet young lady.
I am, mistress.
Said Lily. Butterfly wings in her hair, completely covering her ears, swayed as she spoke. Rel stumbled away, hands raised in a warding off gesture.
Back, foul wretch!
Lily took a gentle step forward, never losing her posture.
Mistress?
Don't mistress me, Buster Brown!
Finger aimed at the doll, Rel rose to her feet, lower lip pulled forward.
I know what you're here for. If the doctor has taught me anything, I'm not going anywhere, no matter how wiggy your police box is.
She wrinkled her nose.
Do you have a police box?
Police box?
Lily tilted her head.
Yeah,
Rel eased her defense, slightly.
you know, time and space.
Time and what, mistress?
She smiled at that fondly.
Relative dimension and space, actually.
If you say so.
Said Lily.
Don't change the subject!
Rel plucked a paintbrush from the floor and brandished the bristles.
I will end you.
Stepping forward, reaching out her hand, Lily said politely,
Mistress, if you please.
I said away, foul beast!
Rel hurled the goggles from her eyes and dove onto the bed, rolling into her covers. Cocooned in the blankets, she peeked through a small opening near her pillow, glancing into the room. Glaring at the stuffed doll sitting on her notebook, Rel crawled out of her sheets, scurried on all fours to the foot of her chair, and cautiously peeked her eyes above the top of the desk. The doll didn't move. Rel poked Lily's yarn hair, then quickly ducked out of sight. She waited for the voice.
Come on, change!
She rested her nose on the lip of her desk.
Give me a reason to end both your hearts.
Her eyes shifted from Lily's button eyes to the frill of her dress, searching, waiting for any sign of movement. Nothing. Lily did not stir. Ever vigilant, Rel stood up, backed away, and sat on her bed.
Good. Right. Yes. I like you better this way.
Eyes never leaving those dark buttons, she folded her hands and waited.
Silent. As you should be.
Curling up onto her bed, Rel rested her head on her pillow. still staring at the doll. Her eyes moved to the goggles on the floor, then back to the doll. She wrung her hands, pursed her lips. With a huff, she closed her eyes, murmuring,
Don't want to talk to you anyways. Of course not. Why would I?